"You killed our father," she said, not looking at him. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper, but it rang with steel. She stood by the fireplace, one hand gripping the edge of the old armchair's upholstery, as if afraid she might collapse. In the other, she held a yellowed envelope sealed with wax, a kind no one had used in 30 years. Marcus didn't answer right away. He sat at the dining table in the house where he hadn't set foot since he was 18, the same house that had once been his whole world, the scent of fresh-baked bread in the mornings, the whisper of rain on the roof, his sister's laughter drifting in from the garden. Now it smelled of dust, medicine, and something worse, words never spoken. "I didn't kill him," he finally said, staring into the cup of tea she'd set before him without a word, without even a greeting. "He died of a heart attack." "A heart attack?" Evelyn spun around sharply. Her eyes, gray like storm clouds over the ocean, bore into him with such fury that Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "People don't die of heart attacks overnight, Marcus. Not after 30 years of marriage. Not after learning that his own son—" She paused, swallowed hard, as if forcing back tears. "You knew. You knew everything. And you stayed silent." He looked up. Her face showed pain accumulated over decades, not just resentment, but shattered trust. A broken bond. Something no apology or bouquet could ever fix. "I wasn't silent," he replied. "I tried. Evelyn stepped closer and dropped the envelope onto the table. It slid across the polished wood until it stopped at the edge. "Then why did Dad write this a week before he died? Why did he say in his final letter that he couldn't look you in the eye? That he couldn't forgive you for what you did to our family?" Marcus reached for the envelope, but she slammed her hand down on it. "No. Tell me the truth. All of it. Or leave. Forever." The house stood on a hill in a quiet suburb where streets were named after trees and children still played on lawns after school. Evelyn and Marcus had grown up here. Their father, Arthur Hendricks, had been a history teacher, strict but fair. Their mother, Grace, was a homemaker gifted with gardens and the ability to turn any holiday into magic. Their family had been the gold standard in their neighbors' eyes. 2 kids, a dog, summer vacations by the lake. But it all collapsed when Marcus was 25. Back then, he worked at a law firm in the city. His career was skyrocketing. He was dating Rebecca, a smart, ambitious woman from a good family. Everything was perfect. Until one night, he never came home. Evelyn lived separately by then, married to David, but she still visited her parents often. She was the one who answered the door when the phone rang deep in the night. Marcus stood on the porch, pale, trembling, covered in blood. Not his own. Dark stains soaked his shirt. Madness flickered in his eyes. "I need to hide," he whispered. She let him in. Without questions. Because he was her brother. Because as a child, he'd saved her from a snakebite in the woods. Because he'd taught her to swim when she was terrified of deep water. But this time, he wasn't saving anyone. He was destroying everything. 2 days later, the police came. They asked about his car, about Rebecca, who had vanished without a trace. Marcus denied everything. Said they'd broken up amicably, that he didn't know where she was. He blamed the blood on a cut in the garage. But Rebecca was never found. No charges were filed. Not enough evidence. But whispers started in town. And Arthur and Grace saw the truth in their son's eyes. "You came to us," Evelyn recalled later, "and Dad didn't say a word. He just looked at you and saw a stranger. That night, for the first time in his life, he got drunk. And the next morning, he said, 'If you stay here, I'm leaving.' You stayed. He left." Marcus clenched his fists. "I didn't kill her, Evelyn." "Then where is she?" "I don't know." "You're lying. You've been lying for 30 years. After that night, Marcus disappeared. He moved to another state, changed his name, started over from nothing. Became an architect, a quiet, invisible man living in a one-room apartment, no friends, no family. Only the shadow of his past followed him everywhere. Evelyn tried writing, first letters, then postcards, then just calling on his birthday. He never answered. Not out of indifference. Out of fear. Fear that if he spoke, he'd tell everything. And the truth might destroy someone else. Maybe even her. He only returned now 30 years later because he'd received a letter from a lawyer. His father was dead. There was a will. And one condition: if Marcus comes, let Evelyn read him the letter I left. She'd refused at first, but she agreed, not out of kindness, but rage. Out of necessity. Do you remember how we used to play hide-and-seek in this house? Evelyn asked, still standing by the fireplace. You always hid in the closet under the stairs. I found you in 10 seconds every time. Dad used to laugh. That boy will never be a spy. And then, you vanished so completely no one could find you for 3 decades. I didn't vanish, Marcus replied. I just left. Why? He stayed silent. Because he finally said, I couldn't look you in the eyes. Not you. Not Dad. Not even David, when he looked at me like I was a criminal. And were you? He rose and walked to the window. Outside, the garden their mother once tended was overgrown, but here and there, tulips still pushed through, stubborn as memory. Rebecca, he stumbled. She ran away from me that night. We'd argued. She told me she was pregnant. I didn't want the baby. I said horrible things. Terrible things. She got in her car and drove off. I ran after her, but I was too late. And? The car veered onto the bridge. There was thick fog. I saw it slip off the edge. You saw it with your own eyes? Yes. And you didn't call for help? I panicked. I thought they'd say I did it. The police already had questions. And with my car there, my fingerprints, my blood on my shirt. I'd cut myself, yes, but they wouldn't have believed me. You left her there? I tried to pull her out, but I couldn't. The water was ice cold. I drowned. Passed out. Woke up on the bank. And she was gone. Evelyn stared at him, unblinking. And you stayed silent. I stayed silent to protect you. Dad. Even David. You know how people love to slap labels on families. The killer's family. The cursed house. I didn't want your life ruined. My life was ruined by you, she said quietly. You left us with lies. With suspicion. With a pain that never heals. Dad died never knowing where she was. Mom too. And every night I wondered, what if he really did kill her? What if my brother is a monster? I'm not a monster. You let us believe you were. That's worse. She released the envelope. Marcus picked it up. His hands trembled. The wax seal cracked with a soft snap. Inside was a sheet of thick paper, covered in their father's familiar, deliberate handwriting, each word struck like a hammer. Marcus, if you're reading this, you've come back. That means time can no longer hide anything. I knew. I always knew you didn't kill Rebecca. But I didn't know you'd let us live with doubt. With pain. With shattered trust. I can't forgive you for a girl's death. I can't forgive you for your silence. You robbed me of the chance to be a father when you needed one most. You robbed me of the chance to forgive you, not for a crime, but for your fear. Fear isn't a sin. But betraying your family is. I'm dying with a heavy heart. Not from illness. From loneliness. You didn't just leave the house. You left our lives. If you find the strength, tell Evelyn the truth. Give her peace. Give yourself peace too. As long as I could, I loved you. But love can't survive in darkness. Dad. Marcus read it aloud. His voice broke. Tears, his first in 30 years, rolled down his cheeks. Evelyn remained still as stone. Then slowly, she walked to the table, picked up a glass of water, and set it before him. Drink, she said. You look like you haven't slept in a week. I haven't, he admitted. Not since I got that letter. She sat across from him and gazed out the window for a long while. Where is she? She asked suddenly. At the bottom of Blackwood Lake. 5 miles from here. I went back the next day. I saw them pull the car out. But I didn't tell anyone who I was. I stood in the crowd like a stranger. Did they identify her? Through dental records. Her parents got the body. Buried her in a closed casket. That's what they wanted. They never knew about the baby. I didn't tell them. Didn't know how. You could have at least left flowers. I had no right. Right isn't about permission. It's about honor. He lowered his head. I don't know how to make this right. You can't, she said. But you can start by staying. Staying. Here. In this house. Until I decide what to do with you. He looked at her, disbelieving. You want me to stay? I want you to finally stop running. A week passed in silence. Marcus slept in the guest room, the same one that had once held his childhood bed. Evelyn made soups like their mother used to. She spoke little, but she didn't throw him out. One morning, she brought an old photo album. Remember when we went to the zoo? You were 7. I fell off the swings. You carried me on your back to the car, even though you were smaller than me. I fell 3 times on the way, he said with a faint smile. But you didn't let go. He looked at her. I'd never let you go. You let go of Dad. I thought it would protect him. It broke him. That evening, they sat on the porch. The sunset painted the sky crimson. The wind rustled the leaves like a whispered farewell. I want to go there, Evelyn said. To the lake. Why? To pray. For her. For the baby. For us. The next morning, they left early. Evelyn's old Buick, the one that had once belonged to David, rumbled down the road. He died 5 years ago from cancer. She'd never remarried. The lake was just as he remembered, quiet, black, mist curling along the shore. They stopped at the bridge railing. Here, she asked. Yes. She pulled a bouquet of white lilies from her bag, held it for a moment, then laid it gently on the railing. Forgive us, she whispered. For the fear. The silence. For not saving you. Marcus stared into the water. For the first time in 30 years, he felt relief, not forgiveness, but the chance to begin. I didn't come back for myself, he said. I came back so you'd know the truth. I've known it since that night, Evelyn replied. I was just waiting for you to say it yourself. They drove home in the rain. That evening, Evelyn brought out a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. Dad kept this since your 21st birthday, she said. He always said, we'll drink it when he comes back. They drank in silence. What now? He asked. Now you'll help me fix up the house. After that, we'll see. He nodded. For the first time in decades, he felt he had a place, not perfect, not forgiven, but his. The next day, he went into the garden. Pulled weeds. Planted new tulips yellow like the sun. The same kind their mother had loved. And Evelyn, watching from the window, whispered for the first time in 30 years. Welcome home, brother.